Senator Bovey, on debate.
Thank you, Speaker. Senators, I too rise today to speak to Bill C-22, an act to reduce poverty and to support the financial security of persons with disabilities by establishing the Canada Disability Benefit and making a consequential amendment to the Income Tax Act. I will be brief, as I have listened to my colleagues speak, and I think my words will echo theirs, and I'm not going to repeat all they have said. First, I would like to thank Senator Cotter for his sponsorship of this bill, and all senators who have expressed their support and concerns. I am in support of this bill going to committee as soon as possible. C-22 is laudable in its objective of reducing poverty for some of the most vulnerable people in Canada. The spirit in which this bill has been crafted has given hope to those who have been living in very difficult circumstances. As Senator Petitclerc said earlier, 6.2 million Canadians, of whom 41% of working age are unemployed. Of working age of that 6.2 million. At the heart of this legislation is the step it takes to creating a more inclusive society. As Senator Cotter mentioned, basic financial security is a large part of this. I have mentioned the troubles with provincial clawbacks to benefits in this chamber before, and like many of us here, that is a great concern. Without agreements with the provinces and territories, we could be putting beneficiaries in a one step forward and two steps back situation, and thus, that way, the bill would not achieve its goals. I had the opportunity last week to talk to David Cron, Executive Director of the CP Association of Manitoba, a person who has lived experience of a disability for his whole life, and one who assists many others. David Cron's greatest concern with this bill is the danger of provincial clawbacks being imposed for those who are recipients of Bill C-22's benefits. And he also fears that provinces might offload their service supports to those in need. Of Bill C-22, he told me, quote, "It is a generational change as to how we support adults with disabilities in Canada as long as there are no clawbacks." So he's very, very supportive of the big step it does take forward. He also noted that he hopes the regulations that underline this bill cannot be a ruse for provinces or other jurisdictions to cut the services like wheelchairs, rent assistance, or other disability health supports. This tax benefit is a critically needed step, and I hope it may lift many out of poverty. I am heartened by Senator Cotter's belief that there will be agreements made, but I'm also concerned about the length of these negotiations. The thought of a patchwork system across the country does not lend confidence on an equity basis for people who have struggled with inclusion for so long. David Cron told me that the need for this bill is great, and that he and the CP Association is truly supportive of its goal, improving the lives of people with disabilities, which we know are expensive lives. He is encouraged that it includes an appeal mechanism. He said, and I quote, "The most important part of C-22 is that it is Canada-wide, enabling people to move to other regions to live with family without having to wait years to reapply for a benefit. It seems in some jurisdictions, waiting lists to get one's new provincial home's disability supports can be up to 5 years, which forces people to stay where they are, often away from family. He sees this Canada-wide aspect of this bill letting people make those moves without that wait. I note the provisions in the legislation which would seem to provide safeguards, the results of federal-provincial negotiations being published, for example, but most importantly, under collaboration in 11-1, which states, quote, The minister must provide persons with disabilities from a range of backgrounds with meaningful and barrier-free opportunities to collaborate in the development and design of the regulations, including regulations that provide for the application process, eligibility criteria, the amount of a benefit, and the appeals process, end quote. This is a very important step. And who knows the issues of the disabled community more than those who live with a disability? Let me give you an example. My office recently hired Gemma, a young lady who has lived with disabilities her entire life and who has faced real economic challenges. She is strong, determined, and to the fullest extent she can, she has taken control of her life. She hires her own care workers. She's written a document for us, which we will post soon, which is titled, Go Confidently into Hiring, a guide for those with disabilities for hiring care workers, end quote. While she openly refers to her challenges, financial and physical, her report offers advice and insight into the entire hiring process. With a University of Manitoba degree of Community Development and Recreation Management, Gemma has been a volunteer for 3 years at St. Amant, a home for people with high needs disabilities. Her colleagues who graduated from the same program at the same time were paid. More recently, she has had a contract with CPAM to run and organize 2 days of movement for their members. Gemma's support of Bill C-22, like that of David Cron, is strong, but she is concerned about the potential of clawbacks, having been faced with that reality with her project in my office. This bill will lift the lives of many, and I hope it will lift people enough to be a significant long-term help. I truly hope that Section 11-1 of this bill is respected and that people with disabilities can help develop the regulations which will flesh out this legislation. That is a key to meeting the needs of people for whom this bill will affect the most. Your Standing Committee on Social Affairs, Science and Technology will soon study this bill, and the issues raised in this chamber will be addressed. And I look forward to those discussions and testimonials. In closing, I want to thank you all for your input and concerns as our committee moves forward. Thank you.